My name is Alton, you know me as the Sleeping God, also Staggering Giant on Twitter. Tonight I'm here to talk about the Ancestral Curse Sorcerous origin, which won the poll on Twitter last week. This is one that got its second run out after losing out to the Shifting Sands Cleric the week before. So the purpose of this was to just build on something a little bit stranger. We all know that sorcerers are a relatively new class in Dungeons and Dragons. They weren't there in the original rules and were introduced during pardon me, were introduced during the 3rd edition of the game. The sorcerer itself is like a natural spellcaster. It's a wizard that takes its magical energy from an innate source. In 5th edition, that's known as the Sorcerous origin. And there are several. There is the Draconic Bloodline, the Divine Soul, the Wild Magic Sorcerer, and there's a couple of themes in this. The Bloodline is the inherited ability. It's something that's come down, been handed down from previous generations, whereas most of the others are associated with maybe being touched by some kind of other magical source, whether that was at birth, during pregnancy, at some point in your existence. You've been touched by some source of power that has become a part of you and that gives you a sense of a contact to the magical weave. We know that in Dungeons and Dragons, particularly in Forgotten Realms, the weave is the source of magic that runs through all of existence, and by tapping into the weave, people are able to make changes to reality around them, summon forces from other planes, conjure animals and beasts to themselves, to serve them, or to guide them, to guard them, or to tap into sources of information that wouldn't be extrasensory sources of information that wouldn't normally be available to people. So, where did the idea for the Ancestral Curse come from? Well, a few places. A curse is a magical affliction. It's something that is forced onto somebody, usually by somebody with malcontent, usually with somebody who's trying to harm the person. And when this happens, it leaves a mark on that person. And throughout history, there have been several cases of families who people consider cursed. Now, whether there's any reality to that or not, I can't say. I don't think we live in a world with magic. Maybe we do. But I suppose some of the most famous would be the Kennedys, who were considered a family that were cursed, the American political family, the Guinness family in Ireland, where I'm from, were also considered a cursed family with a long history of alcoholism and unusual deaths in their family. And many royal families around the world, or important noble families, were considered cursed over the years, like the Grimaldis. I suppose royal curses could be put down to maybe too much inbreeding, too many close relations, having children, but the notion that a person's bloodline was cursed kind of appealed to me in this case, and I thought, well, what could it be? What would happen? What kind of effect would that have on people? So the idea is that the curse is a strong magic that connects that person to magical sources and creates a sorcerer. Now, what form would that take? In terms of how it grants power, any form of magic, any exposure to magic, could theoretically result in a sorcerer who has power in them that they can tap into and put out into the world as spells or effects. But the curse itself, well, that's magic too, and what form does that take? So, I thought about what could that be? What form could the curse be? I'll come up with two options. Option one. The curse could be a flaw, like the character flaws that you get from your background in normal Dungeons and Dragons. The curse could come as another flaw, and this would put the onus on the player to roleplay what's going on with that curse. And I give a few examples here of the kind of curses that you could have. Poverty, I almost invariably make the wrong decisions when it comes to money. Fury, those who test my anger will quickly learn that my rage is absolute. Unlucky, I expect things to go wrong for me, why even try? Ill health, the pain is always there, destroying my will to act. Doomed, cleave not to hope, hope has no home here. And hunted, it is difficult to be alone, knowing that someone is coming for me. Now, this would give obviously an advantage to the player in that playing to these flaws would give them inspiration. And inspiration is the rule that you can use your inspiration to re-roll. You can effectively take advantage on a roll by using your inspiration. Once you've used it, the slot is open again and you fill it up again. You play to your background, you play to your personality traits or to your flaws. And in this case, obviously, we would encourage you play to your flaws and get your inspiration that way. But the other option is to consider that instead of running it as a flaw, you could actually have mechanical effects for a curse. Now, I've used the same examples here, but as mechanical effects, these kind of impose problems on you. And I suppose in a lot of ways this kind of breaks the notion of keeping things fun. You know, we're deliberately making things bad for you in almost every instance. And if you have, for example, the Fury Curse, you fail a saving throw against a mind-altering effect, you roll 5 or less on the d20, and you go into a rage, a barbarian rage. Obviously that has some advantages in that it gives you strengths, but in this case you do not know friend from foe. So you will just keep attacking until the rage ends, or until there's nobody left to attack, nobody that you can reach. Again, not good for the players around you, and it kind of brings us into the realm of unfun. If you impose things on people that take away their free choices in what they do, if you impose things on people that create disadvantages for other players, that creates a situation where maybe people stop having fun. And in that sense, the fun becomes the flaw becomes the more attractive option for how to be cursed. Again, these are only examples. If you wanted to sit down with the DM and come up with other notions or other ideas for the type of flaws that you could have, then that's fine. You can work on that, you can build on that, and maybe you can come up with your own flaw that ties into a curse. But I did consider, and I will be posting these documents online, so if anybody wants to come in and have a look at them at any point, you can. I did consider that maybe some of the effects, some of the features that the sorcerer would have could be tied to the curse. So, sorcerers, in general, go with a collection of features at, go for a collection of features at 1st level, 6th level, 14th level and 18th level. Now, I've broken down some of these from Xanathar's and the Player's Handbook, and most of these are kind of somewhat, they have similarities at the individual levels. So at first level there's a bonus of some sort, a small thematic feature, a bonus proficiency, a free spell, something that you just get for being a sorcerer, you get for, in our case it will be having your curse, and you can use that, or it can be a boost to something that you can already do. Alongside that, you'll get a combat advantage, and the Draconic Bloodline gives you a base armor class of 13 and 1 extra hit point per level as you level up. That's a big combat advantage, especially the base armor class. That's equivalent to having a free mage armor spell on all the time. Tides of Chaos gives you 1 attack or save advantage per long rest, or per surge. This is one that I actually missed myself a couple of times until I was actually doing this breakdown, that if you get a wild magic surge, which in and of itself, the only note I can make is if you get a wild magic surge, your DM can decide, okay, you've earned back your Tides of Chaos for this long rest. You can have another go at it. Favourite of the Gods gives you a bonus to saves or attacks once per rest. Storm magic, the tempestuous magic, gives you a short burst of light with no opportunity attacks as a bonus action before or after you cast a spell, which again seems quite generous. And Strength of the Grave, to me this is the most powerful of the features among the sorcerers, is that once per long rest you can make a constitution save to just not die when you fall to 0 hit points. Just ignore that, I'm not really dead. That seems to me to be very powerful. Yes, it's only once per long rest. Fair enough, that kind of restricts it a little bit, but it is quite a punch to be able to just turn around and ignore death. By 6th level, you generally get another combat advantage. Charisma modifier on spells, or you gain resistance. And you gain resistance, to the element in question. I'll just take a look at one more here. You can reroll as many dice in a healing spell as you wish by spending 1 sorcery point. That's quite a boost in the middle of a fight, that if you're rolling a spell and you roll a few low, I just spend a sorcery point and I can re-roll that, and I can get one of my companions or myself back into the fray with as many hit points as I can effectively give them. Once you get up to 14th level, you're very much into movement, whether it's controlled movement or forced movement. Dragon wings and otherworldly wings for the Divine Soul and Draconic Bloodline. Controlled chaos, not really much of an advantage actually. If you roll on the wild magic table, you get to roll twice and use whichever one you prefer. Now that could mean using 2 terrible things that aren't going to be very useful for you, but at least if you roll one that's goodish and one that's not so good, you can choose to use the goodish one and walk away with that. Shadow Walk, 120 feet teleportation. That's cool. Really like that. And that's a bonus action as well. So bonus action, poof, halfway across the battlefield, I can engage wherever I want or get away whenever I want by just stepping out. By the time you get to 18th level, most of these are combat advantage, but they are very thematic. And that's another thing about the Sorcerous Origin features. They really tie into the theme of your bloodline. Wind Soul, Fly Speed, that's the one that everybody else gets at the level before, but you get your Fly Speed. You can add your Charisma modifier to the Fly Speed of you can give flight to other people, up to 3 plus your Charisma modifier other people for 1 hour just by taking a hit to your own speed. Now, all of these only work once per rest, but that's once per short rest. You can get a group of people flying. If we assume that by 18th level you've got +5 on your Charisma modifier, you can have 9 people in the air, flying 30 feet around for an hour. That's kind of cool. These are quite powerful effects. The Xanathar's ones do seem to be a little bit more powerful than the ones from the Player's Handbook. Spell Bombardment, really only allows you to reroll one die on a damage-causing spell. It's better than nothing, I suppose. If you roll a 1, you roll up and you give it a bit more punch. You hope. But you have to use the second roll, so if that's another 1, you're stuck with it. It's a risk you take. So overall, these are all... they're mostly quite thematic, but that 18th level one is very much tied in with the theme of your Sorcerous origin. So, what feature? the dice that I picked up from D&Dice UK. Nice little set, and the rainbow dice have been very popular. These ones are called Taste the Rainbow on D&Dice UK, and I am giving these away tonight. I will ship them anywhere in the world, and I'm going to do a quick draw now to see who actually walks away with these. As you can see, I'm using the old dice roller from Wizards of the Coast. I've got that set up for a D61 to roll and see who's going to get that. Let me get up the follower sheet so that I can see it. Rearranging windows. Oh, I'm still getting used to streaming. It's a new thing for me, and I'm getting used to being able to find windows and rearrange a lot of windows at once in this, but I think I'm getting better. So, here we go. Let's see who's getting that. 3, 2, 1. 32. 32 is at Nuker19 under the tag name 2 Go Balls in a Coat on Twitter. Nuker19, if you're not in the chat, I will contact you on Twitter to get your address and let you know send those dice out to you. Congratulations. I don't know how long the post will take. I suppose it will depend on where in the world you are. That's me for tonight, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the stream. I hope you found it useful. If you have any comments about what you've seen tonight, like I said, I'll be posting that PDF onto Twitter tomorrow. Have a look at the link. Feel free to reply. It's been great talking to you all this evening. I hope you have a good week, and I'll talk to you again soon. Actually, just one thing before I go. I had considered as another option for the stream that I could take old adventures and break them down. I did put a short poll up on Twitter, and a few people voted, primarily to say that they liked the idea. I think there was one voice that said it seemed a bit meh. Fair enough. It's not to everybody's taste. I was thinking of breaking down old adventures, partly because a friend of mine who was leaving the country gifted me a lot of his old stuff. So I've got just a few examples lying around. Obviously, there are some that don't need my intervention to be updated. I'm pretty sure we'll all recognise these ones. Yeah, they don't need my help to be updated because Wizards have already taken care of those. But you can see some of the old modules. Adventure in a Forbidden City. Dwellers in a Forbidden City, sorry. The Tomb of the Lizard King. A lot of these are from first edition. This one is another one that doesn't need updating because Wizards aren't afraid to up that one regularly enough themselves. R1, R2 and R3 are these are old tournament modules from, gosh, I don't know how long ago. I probably didn't even know D&D existed when these came out, and I've been playing for quite a while. I don't care to admit how long. Yeah, these are some of the modules that I've been looking at, possibly, going through them, seeing what they're about, story-wise, structure-wise, and maybe updating them for 5th edition. And if I can get ahead with that, then I may even take over the stream one evening or take another evening and get players in to actually play through the updated modules. So obviously, spoilerific will be held back, so some things I won't break down in detail in the stream. But if people are interested in that, I'll stick another poll up this week to see if people want to go ahead with another subclass next week, or if people would rather an adventure breakdown and maybe build up to having players coming in and joining me for the adventure. So again, keep an eye on my Twitter at Staggering Giant for the poll, the results of the poll, and updates as I go ahead with the stream next week. Again, thank you all for coming, and good night.